If we could understand the only reason we ever want anything is because of who we think we'll become along the way. Today's Thinking Out Loud episode is a gentle one, but it's a big question. We're exploring the idea of journey versus destination and what that really means in midlife. It's so easy at this stage of life to get caught up in goals, timelines, comparisons, and where we think we should be, and to miss the life that's actually happening along the way. In this conversation, Clarkie and I reflect on careers, purpose, detours, potholes, and those unexpected moments that shape us far more than any final outcome ever could. If you've been wondering whether you're on the right path, feeling impatient to arrive somewhere, or quietly questioning what you want the next chapter to feel like, this one's for you. As always, these episodes aren't about answers. They're just an invitation to pause, reflect, and maybe look at your own journey with a little more kindness and curiosity. Enjoy. Welcome back to Midlife Unfiltered. I'm your host, Margit Cruz, and today we have another of our Thinking Out Loud episodes with my partner, Clarkie. Welcome back, Clarkie.
Hey, how are you? I'm looking forward to talking about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, today it's an interesting topic because it is relevant to midlife, but it's also relevant to the rest of our life. It's something that we can take midlife and beyond, and prior actually. And this topic came up for me when I was learning my coaching skills. So when I first went to coaching, which was like 2004, so a long time ago. And it's an idea that has stood the test of time that I think we can all relate to. And that's the idea of life being a journey and not a destination. And I think this comes up more in midlife. There is a tendency for us to compare ourselves to where other people are, or just to get really focused on a goal that we want to achieve, but forget about what's the journey that we have along the way to achieving that goal, or how do we want to feel in our life along the way of the journey, not just as we get to a goal.
So it's really interesting you say that, because the reality is midlife, you're somewhere between 45 and 60, say. So you've been around for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So that journey has taken a long time to get there. Yeah. And there's been lots of paths. Well, I'll go back and explain what I believe the journey is. The journey, I say this to my kids all the time. They're 23, 22 and 21. So they're in the start of their journey. And I say that life is a path and you need to walk down that path. Now, whether it's the right path, it doesn't really matter. But you're going down a path and you have opportunities, and they may be different directions. They might be potholes. There could be all sorts of things along that path. But if you just sit still, like my youngest boy likes to do, and wait for opportunities to come to him, then it's never going to happen.
That's a little bit different. He actually hasn't been waiting. No. He's working really hard in his field. It's just not a field that we necessarily understand very well. He's a professional gamer.
But he doesn't go anywhere. He doesn't go down a path where the other two have taken off in their journeys. That path, and if I reflect on myself then, that path that I set out as a 20-year-old took different detours right up until today. Even today, as we create podcasts, is something that's totally different to what I would ever have thought of that I would have created along the way. I never set out and said, okay, I'm going to be a podcaster. I'm going to create content. I'm going to be a podcaster. When I was 40 years ago, what was podcasting?
It was called radio.
Yeah, but so things change. And it's living that life of enjoying your journey.
But it's also, it's those things that come up along the way. So it's really easy. If we're talking, let's talk career for a moment. If we're talking about career and we look at, okay, I want to try this as a career and work towards whatever the career is. It doesn't actually matter what the career is. And sometimes we can get so caught up in, this is my career, this is where I'm getting to, this is what I want to achieve. And along the way, we've got these measurements around, right, I've got to get to this stage. Typically in more traditional sort of work, you get to a certain level of manager or a business owner, and then, of course, you want to business growth, and then you get to a different level of management, and so on and so on. And it's really easy to get caught up in just focusing on those and forgetting to stop and go, actually, do I even enjoy the work that I'm doing? Like, am I happy? Is this fulfilling for me? Does this feel like the purpose that's in alignment with what my soul really wants? Is this the journey I want to keep taking? But because we get caught up, and I'll give you an example of this. I was talking to someone a little while ago, and they were a teacher who has progressed through the education system, and they're now at a management level in schools, and their partner was as well. And they said to me, we actually don't really enjoy teaching so much anymore, or even being in the education system, but we've got so much invested in it now, in terms of we've been here for so long, we don't know what else we could do. We've got long service leave, which is something that's in Australia. I'm not even sure if that exists in the rest of the world. But they felt like they couldn't leave a job that wasn't necessarily fulfilling. And I'm not saying it's not fulfilling for them, but they couldn't even think about that as an option because they were so vested in what they were doing and how long they had been there.
So it's a bit of a risk-reward thing in some ways. Like my father, he worked at the same factory as a fitter and turner for 45 years. Got his gold watch and he was all excited. Now today, kids who go out in the workforce, they're thinking only 2 years in ahead. They're going, I'm going to change path in 2 years. Their path is going all over the place. And long service leave doesn't exist in their minds.
No.
They're just looking to be fulfilled.
Doesn't exist in mine. I've never been anywhere long enough to earn long service leave, and that's just because I've followed the opportunities that have come up as they've come up, and really looked at, well, is this where I want to go next and what I would like to try? And it's created a really interesting career, along with coaching, which has sat on the side sort of as I've worked other jobs. You come to this point in life where you're looking for security, particularly if you've had children, you kind of know you need to be able to pay all your bills in order to bring your children up. And I know everyone is trying their best all the time to do that. And so what you look for becomes a little bit different. So I know I was looking for places where I could earn enough money that I could, pay rent or mortgage or buy food, because my kids like to eat every single day. But now they're old enough to sort of take care of themselves in that realm and, buy their own food. So it takes a bit of pressure off. So this is this funny time in midlife where it's a great time to reevaluate and go, well, am I genuinely happy doing what I'm doing? Is this the journey I want to keep going on?
So can I ask you a question?
Of course.
What's more important, the destination or the journey?
Oh, the journey every single time. And this is the thing, we get so caught up in achieving the goal, reaching the destination of winning the championship, as it were. And yet it's the journey you have along the way that's what really makes you as a person. That's the thing that becomes interesting to other people. Absolutely, it's nice to achieve your goals and reach those destinations. But what you learned along the way, the mistakes you learned, the person you became, and if we could understand the only reason we ever want anything is because of who we think we'll become along the way. Does that make sense?
Yep, it does. So it's embracing the journey. So and accepting the potholes, as we call them.
Yeah, it won't all go your way.
And
it will not.
And the downhill runs where it's all exciting and works really well.
Exactly. And there's the downhill runs, there's the uphill times,
Sometimes it's uphill into the wind.
Yeah, and there's times that you ended up in places where you have no idea how you got there, but yet somehow you are. But at any time, you can always steer your way back towards what you want. There's very few things in life that mean you have to stick with this in this way for the rest of your life. Say very, very few things.
Do you think some people get a little distracted by the next door neighbour theory?
One of the quotes I loved, and I remember using this in the Joy Rebellion, is comparison is the thief of joy. And so when we look at the next door neighbour, what are they doing? What have they got? What are they achieving? It's really easy to either feel unhappy with self or feel this sense of superiority. And neither of those things are true, because we're all equal, but our society has this noise and this vision for us that, you know, we start to buy into, we start to believe it's more important to achieve this goal than this goal. But actually, if this goal is what fills your heart, who cares about the rest?
Okay.
But of course, I also honour that we live in a society and a structure where you do need to earn money and you know, all of those things. So it would be really nice if I could say, I just want to spend the rest of my life learning to play guitar or learning to paint. It would be lovely, like it would be a lovely existence, probably not very practical for the world that we live in. Not saying it's wrong or right, just probably not very practical for me to live some of the other things that I'd like to live. Right? Like I enjoy travelling. Well, you need to have some money to travel.
Well, it's part of the goal setting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you enjoy the destination.
Yeah, and I think, you know, travelling's actually, it's
journey,
a really,
I should say,
it's a really nice analogy actually, or metaphor for this idea of journey versus destination, because you can go anywhere, almost anywhere in the world now. But if we think of, let's put it in clear Australian terms here, if we wanted to drive from Brisbane to Sydney, what's that, 1,000 kilometres, maybe just under. So we could do that, and we could do that even at night. We could drive with only our headlights on and just see 200 metres ahead of us the whole way down to Sydney, not, you know, knowing that that's the destination we're going. But then maybe we come up along a detour along the way. Yeah, there's roadworks, you've got to go over this way. You've got to go right around and go the outskirts of this town that you've never been to before. And suddenly you end up in this town, you have an interesting experience, you learn something, but you keep driving, and eventually you get to Sydney. You don't have to know every single step along the way. You don't have to know there's roadworks there, because the reality is life will tell you when you get there.
But if you did it during the day, you would see a lot more. So isn't that what you're saying with the nighttime journey versus a daytime journey?
Not quite. I'm saying that you don't have to see every step of the way. Even if you go in the daytime, you'll only see a certain amount along the way. Like, you're not going to see the whole journey at once. You're not flying overhead in a drone, sort of taking the big picture view. You stop town by town. You get to each town, and yes, of course you see more when you're going during the day. You definitely see more when you've got your eyes open.
That's what I'm saying. Your eyes open, your heart open during the journey.
Oh, and when you have an open heart, it's so fascinating to me, the people that you meet, the places that you see, the experience that you have are just so beautiful. If you can be present in that journey to when they're happening and not caught up about the fact that it's just another step, or, you know, I've gone the wrong way, or I haven't reached where I wanted to reach by this date. Because we've got this thing about setting a date for our goals too. Right, let's create SMART goals and let's make sure we have a timeline on them and have a little plan. I'm going to tell you, there's not many of my goals, or any of them, that ever went exactly to plan. But when I can be a bit flexible and follow the journey that they take me on, they can be a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah. So out of this journey versus destination chat, what are we suggesting is the
takeaway?
Well, yeah, maybe the takeaway, yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it's just really taking a step back and evaluate where you are on your own journey of life. You know, we're in midlife. There's a long time, there's a lot ahead of us. It's not all behind us. And so we can look at what's the journey that we still want to experience. You know, I find it really inspiring. My mum is 79 now and well past midlife, and yet she's planning to go back to study at university and re-enter the workforce in a couple of years. So she'll be 81 when she re-enters the workforce.
In a totally different field that she's worked in.
It's in a related field, so not quite totally different, but yeah, so in related but different. Like, I see her, she's excited about this next step, about going back to study, fulfilling some purpose and feeling like her life has some meaning in the world.
So this becomes another topic for another day, is purpose in life.
Oh, without a doubt, we'll be talking about purpose and meaning. Even along this, like if I'd said to my mum 5 years ago, you're going back to study, it would have been, no, I'm not. And she's so excited about that now and really created that opportunity for herself. And yet I know whilst the end result is, there's a qualification there, it's some study, what she learns along the way is far more important than that end piece of paper that she's going to get going back to study.
It will be. She'll be the oldest person at the uni.
She might not be. She might not be.
She will be. She'll be the oldest.
There are lots of people who are still studying or wanting to study at an older age because you're still alive, you're still here. And this is their journey is ongoing. It's not, you don't reach a certain age and then, okay, that's it. I've reached all the destinations I want to. I'm no longer going to enjoy or embrace the journey of life.
Mm. Well, again, that's a whole another topic about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where we go
about aging and how we age well and all of those sorts of things. But I think for us in midlife and at any age is just to think about your own journey, where you are on it. Is it in the direction that really fills your heart? Are you getting caught up in the goals that you want to achieve? Because, if we don't, because we don't always hit our goals, and you and I know that. We've had that happen recently, and there was some disappointment, but at the end of the day, it actually doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, but it matters if we were happy, if we were enjoying ourselves along the way.
Yeah, the journey along the way was great.
Yeah, exactly. And so just finding that place, finding joy along the journey, finding happiness, enjoying the people you meet, being fascinated by what life puts in front of you. I am constantly fascinated by what life presents to me. I go, well, I think I'm going to go over here now and try this. And this podcast is an example of that. Well, let's try this. Let's see what happens. Let's enjoy the journey of it. And already, what have I done? A few guest episodes, and I'm just blown away by the conversations I get to have just by doing this. And that's a lot of fun. Yeah,
it absolutely is. And you do a great job of it. That's the other fantastic thing of it.
Thank you. That's very kind. That's our topic for today. The Thinking Out Loud episodes, they're not meant to be complete. They're just meant to give you some food for thought. Perhaps some of this you resonate with, and perhaps some of it has sparked something for you, some hope, some thought about your own life, something you may want to do different or not. And that's okay too. But again, thanks for being with us on the Thinking Out Loud episode. We look forward to continuing these and seeing what other topics certainly pique our interest. Thanks for tuning in to Midlife Unfiltered. I hope today sparked something meaningful and reminded you of what's possible in this season of life. If this episode lifted you up, share it with someone who could use the reminder. Subscribing will make sure that you're notified when a new episode is released, and leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify also helps more people discover our little corner of midlife truth-telling. You can always reach out through Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. I love hearing from women who are walking this path with me. Interested in working with me? You'll find everything you need at margitcruise.com. And remember, midlife isn't an ending. It's your invitation to feel more alive than ever. See you next week. And now the legal stuff. The content in this podcast is provided for general information and inspiration only. It does not constitute medical, legal, or psychological advice, nor is it a substitute for independent professional care. Margit Cruise is not a registered health professional. You are responsible for your own choices and outcomes and should always seek advice from an appropriately qualified professional.